Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, Kenny Omega takes his AEW heavyweight belt to Impact. We do our WarGames NXT TakeOver recap, Best of the Super Juniors, Wednesday Night Wars, Roman Reigns and Goldberg maybe. Raw doesn't know how to fill up 3 hours. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast.
One breath.
Ugh. Smoked a lot of cigarettes. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Marks. Welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. Drew Wackentire.
Oh, no.
Sitting to my left, as always, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
For that one, we need a moment of silence. No, we need to turn down the music. Turn down the music.
All right.
We need a moment of silence as we bow our heads and pray to whatever God you pray to as we begin the latest edition for the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 184, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saying, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. Interesting start to the pod. I love the AKA. Plenty to talk about. I'm waiting to hear what you got to say about Tuesday night because I know we had to drag your ass biting, scratching, and clawing to make room for Tuesday night impact. So I'm loving and waiting for here to hear this shit. I'm ready to go. Let's get this shit going.
Out there in Edwardsville, Illinois, we have Two Beer Zach Bowman. What's going on, Two Beer?
Just channeling my inner Lebowski here. I got the bathrobe, the slippers, the White Russian on my front porch.
Wow.
I'm sure my wife would be thrilled to see me even in semi-public in this state.
That's an image that's burned in my
That is
brain.
an image burned. We shouldn't dilly-dally around too much. We are coming at you. Jason and I are coming at you from sunny South City, St. Louis. Like I said, there's a bunch of stuff to talk about. We're in the home of the Metronome. Jason, before we get too far, why don't you tell us about F&B Eatery?
F&B, you're on the corner of 3453 Southampton and Marquette, home of the greatest smash burger you've never heard of. So let's alleviate that problem. Slide in my DMs. Let's grab you a gift card. Take your ass on over to F&B Eatery. Get you a smash burger. Get the family some smash burgers. Get the wife off your back. It's about to be that time where they might be locking us down again. So why don't you get on your good side? Hey, give the boss a little gift card. That way you can stay on his good side too.
What a pitch.
I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, like, they're laying people off left and right. Like, $25 gift card might just save your job.
And it might just give us a little bit of a bump on the backside. F&B, you're on the corner of 3453 Southampton Marquette. Tell them that Banned from Ringside sent you.
All right, let's get to that 3 counts.
1, 2, 3.
JCB, kick it off.
I know what I want to talk about, but I like to keep things in order of things that we usually do. So chronologically, we have to talk about WarGames on, I guess that was Sunday night again. Almost slept through the front part, but I woke up just in time to see a crazy women's match. But for me, I guess what's the biggest takeaway from it is the lack of Finn Balor defending the title. I know what we saw on Wednesday, but we could at least, I don't know. I was a little disappointed to not see a title defense from Finn Balor is, to me, the biggest problem with that. From that said, the rest of the card I thought was really, really good. Both WarGames, women's and men's, were really good. I thought Raquel Gonzalez really stepped out to be the next, I won't say big thing because that's Brock Lesnar, but she's going to be the next flavor of the month for NXT. Looks like she's going to get the push to go against Io Shirai coming up. On the men's WarGames side, it was just absolutely crazy. Once again, Pat McAfee doesn't necessarily steal the show, but he has a lot of the highlight moments. I was a little surprised that Undisputed Era went over, just because I thought this would be a time where a lot of these guys are made. Kyle O'Reilly is the only one that I think has the next potential to move up to at least world championship level, be a world champion in NXT. I was getting ready to say Ring of Honor. That's funny. But I think he's the next one to go up. Roddy's pretty much who he is. Bobby Fish, God bless him, he can't stay healthy to save his life. It was kind of interesting to see Kyle O'Reilly come out on Wednesday night, but we'll talk about that in a second. Thatcher and Ciampa I thought was really, really good. I was a little surprised at the ending, but it looks like that's going to continue, so that's cool there. Gargano winning it back is not a huge surprise. Yeah, I think I've covered it. Did I miss anything? I think I covered it.
You missed Loomis and Cameron Grimes.
For obvious reasons, because I don't give a shit.
Oh, okay. Zach, what'd you think?
Pay-per-view was better than I expected it to be. And which is funny to say because takeovers you always expect to be good. And on paper, like, it seemed decent, but like I was not into Loomis and Grimes having a strap match. I thought that was going to be terrible, and it turned out to be entertaining. They went in there and just had like a total brawl, and it wasn't the old school strap match where you got to like touch all four corners and stuff. Although I mean, I did enjoy those, like watching like Sting drag Big Van Vader around, you know, trying to touch all the four corners and stuff. Like that stuff was cool back in the day, or you know, Piper Valentine, you know, that kind of shit. But it was like, you know, a good brawl. Definitely weird to see on TakeOver. We don't normally see those kind of gimmick matches like that, but it definitely did not bring the show down, which I thought it was going to. In fact, it was one of the highlights of the show, in my opinion. The Thatcher Ciampa match was awesome. You laughing because I almost called him Gargano?
No, I was fucking with you because I was.
He's making jerk off motions about your Loomis and Grimes, and I'm shaking my head at him.
He kind of scolded me a little bit.
I've been one of the biggest antagonists towards Dexter Loomis, like very vocal. And I did not mind
I'm missing you over here. You're leaving me over here with, you know.
I think he gave the jerk off motion because he expected you guys to be on the same island there.
Yeah.
And you swam away.
You took the flower, motherfucker. What's up?
Let the man talk.
But yeah, that match was awesome. Just two mean guys doing mean guy things. Seems like it's going to continue based on this week. The women's war game match, while it was really well worked and like had some crazy stuff, like Io jumping off the cage with a trash can over her head, that was bonkers. I mean, Candice got her arm broke, that was bonkers. I just, from the beginning, I knew this was going to be a little weird because the baby faces won the advantage, and like the psychology of the match is just like totally off from what a war games match should be. And you had all the babyface ladies throwing weapons into the ring to like, which is like the equalizer, right? But like, what were they trying to equalize if they already had the advantage? And they just ended up looking like a bunch of idiots, like through most of the match. Like Io Shirai couldn't even get in the goddamn ring. She's the champion, you know. They just totally punked everybody. Although I did enjoy Raquel Gonzalez going over. They, you know, set up for the future. She looked really good in the match. I even tweeted that she's really stepped it up this year, and she's turning, you know, into a really good performer. But the psychology of the match is just so off that it was just like kind of wacky to me. And I'm all for trying new things, but it you know, sometimes it don't work. At least it didn't work in my opinion. And men's war game was cool. Pat McAfee was definitely the star. The fact this is the second match and it was a war games match and he was awesome in it. Just outrageous. So cool. And then my least favorite match of TakeOver was a Johnny Gargano match, which that's a first. But this three-way, again, the psychology was off. The champion is the odd man out in the match. Like, he's just like the third wheel. Totally weird. But the best part and then those scream guys coming down. But yeah, the best part of the match was whenever afterwards, whenever Austin Theory says, "It was me, comma, Austin," as a play on "It was me, Austin." I thought that really popped me. That was good. But even though I think Austin Theory is a douche in general, that was good. And I think his dynamic with Johnny is going to be cool. I like them as a duo. But the match was like well worked and stuff. It just, like I said, like the champion felt like the odd man out. I didn't like this whole Leon Ruff thing at all. I didn't like the way they got there or anything. But overall, like solid takeover. Definitely not the greatest takeover all time. Definitely not even in the top 10, I would say. But I was not bored, and I was happy, to be able to watch it.
I gotta say, I thought this was the best takeover of the COVID era. It's the one that felt like a takeover to me. I loved this pay-per-view. And we'll get to the one that we watched later on today. But in terms of, War Games is not my favorite style of match. It seems to be pretty chaotic. The women's War Games match on this one was fucking chaotic, man. If not downright reckless. It didn't look – there was a bunch of spots that didn't look very safe, didn't look like they were taking care of each other. I mean, looked like some real indie-style, like, deathmatch shit. And I'm not even talking about the Io Shirai stuff, even though the Io Shirai stuff – I mean, there was too many spots for me to name. Today was the first day I watched it. I didn't step in on Sunday night until the Gargano match. But I loved – I'm not the one in there getting hurt. I hope that they take care of each other. Obviously, Candice LeRae did get hurt, and I think I know the spot that she got hurt. But that match was insane. The men's War Games match, I thought, had a bunch of really good like movements to it. It was really fun to watch. It was well worked, and like you said, Pat McAfee's the guy by far with the least amount of experience. And Pat McAfee looks like he's been doing this his whole life. He really does. He's got the facial expressions down. He's got the body language down. He did a reverse moonsault onto a table onto Bobby Fish, or maybe it was Roderick Strong on the Strong. He went off the top of the cage with a not a shooting star. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. Senton bomb. I mean, and when he was getting beat up by all four of them, if I had to criticize Pat McAfee, I would say that his punches look worse than Shane's. But I mean, that's hard to pull off. What'd you looking at me like that for? Shane's got bad punches. It's this little fucking rabbit punches. I was higher on the Gargano match than Zach was, but you know me, I'm Mr. Triple Threat. I enjoyed the hell out of it. The Loomis Cameron Grimes match, I'm higher on that than you guys too. Like, I like those two guys having that big of a dichotomy against each other. Their styles are so different. I know I was a little down on it last week because just week to week it gets kind of boring. But having a big match like that, I thought that it was fun. I'm glad that they're getting away from each other. I think that Cameron Grimes, I've probably said this, if he gets a little bit more serious, he's a main eventer. Man, he can really go, and he's fun. He's got a good hold on his character, and I'm sure if he got a little bit more serious, he'd be great at it. My favorite match of the night was Thatcher and Ciampa. I fucking loved it, man. Those are two guys that know how to wrestle. They know how to wrestle a hard style, a hard-looking match. It looks stiff, and for two guys whose styles are pretty similar, they told a great story that I've now watched twice, and I was enthralled with both times. And I loved it when Thatcher took that hard knee off the side of the head. He was busted open from his ear, and then he started shaking around, and he was loving that blood, man. I bet those guys had so much fun, and I'm glad, like Jason said, I'm glad that feud is continuing. Takeovers obviously have a very high bar. The best ones that there are A+. They didn't give out A+ in my high school, but the best ones that there are A+. I'd give this one a solid A-. That's how happy I was with it. I fucking loved it. It was the first takeover of the COVID era that felt like a real takeover. It felt like it was in the conversation with the old takeovers where every match was must-see and every match brought it. And like Zach said, even the Loomis Grimes match, which I wasn't particularly excited for, didn't bring the night down. Are you going to make the jerk-off motion again, Jason? Now that I'm talking about Loomis and Grimes?
No, you're sitting here in front of me. I always do that to people behind their back. The Gargano match is a kind of I don't know. I get where you versus every other takeover we've seen up to this point. I would kind of agree with you. This has been the best of the bunch. If you're going A+ or A-, whatever. I wasn't a huge fan of the Gargano match. I would piggyback on what you said about the Leon Ruff thing. I don't necessarily like the way they just kind of threw him into the title picture and then kind of made him a joke on the way out the door. I'm not saying he's not going to get back to the title or have another title shot, but it wasn't NXT.
He had only been in the company for 8 weeks or something when they made him North American champion. He is not. They didn't. I don't think they made him look like a joke. I didn't like how Damian Priest apologized to him for throwing him through the thing. But to me, that's more about Damian Priest than it is. It's more about Damian Priest's babyface character than it is about how they're treating Leon Ruff. That's just me. They kind of strapped the rocket pack to him. Or the jetpack.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to go ahead and kind of say that.
Let's just see how it plays out.
Conservatively, that I think this is going to be more. No, I'm just going to go ahead and start to lean on this one, where I think he's going to be the joke of, not necessarily the joke, but the comedy of NXT. File him in with Drake Maverick and Dillian Kane. He won't be anybody. This will be his highlight moment, and that's going to be kind of a shame because he's got talent. But this will be his highlight moment, winning the NXT or the NXT North American title in this fashion, losing it in this triple threat, and then start to kind of dissipate into the background.
Zach?
I'm just trying to recover from Jason calling him Dillian Kane.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Did I say Dillian Kane?
You said Dillian Kane. It'd be funny if Drake Maverick came out with like hair all over his body and called himself Dillian Kane.
Look.
I wasn't even going to say anything.
No, either or, it doesn't matter. You get my point.
I totally get your point. Zach, what do you think? Zach kind of looks like a Dillian Kane.
That's accurate. I'm sorry, what was the question?
There wasn't one. Just anything you want to add? What kind of letter grade would you give it?
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go with a B+.
Ooh, that's pretty high too. Pretty high. Jason is he's on an island here.
Like I always am. I'll give it a B. It wasn't like it was bad. I just like the two matches. I shouldn't say the two matches. The triple threat, just not a fan of. I don't care what anybody says. That's just not me. And then obviously Cameron Grimes versus Loomis, I have no interest in. I almost think that the wrong person won the match. I'll go that far.
Oh, I had Cameron Grimes. You got Dexter Loomis.
I could see.
Loomis won.
Dexter
oh yeah, that's
Loomis.
right.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
they're really
I
behind
just watched
Loomis.
it again today.
What'd you say, TBZ?
It's really interesting how behind Loomis they are. He gets a lot of TV time. He wins all of his matches. It's just so weird because it seems like they put like 15 seconds worth of thought into the character, but they're putting like a dozen weeks behind like getting him over. You know what I mean? Like it seems like if they wanted this guy to be over so much, they would have put a little more thought into his character. Like they're having him win matches, which is something that they don't always do. NXT, we're starting to leak into main roster territory where they're beating guys just to beat them, and it's interesting. You got Timothy Thatcher submitting. That guy should never submit. Just shit like that. But it is interesting that he gets like such a push. I don't know.
They give Thatcher a lot of TV time too. I'll say this about Loomis: like there is a part of wrestling that we have no idea, like how well respected the guy is in the back. You know how safe he is to work with, how unsafe they are to work with. I know that doesn't always matter in all cases. See Nia Jax, see Seth Rollins, but it does matter. Sometimes, maybe Dexter Loomis is just a fucking pro's pro, I don't know. I know that he was very successful before coming to NXT. I think he has a really good hold on his character, and I'm higher on than you guys are.
Okay. That's my question. What is his character?
He is a psychopath that is good at art.
You know what I imagine it?
Okay.
I imagine that like he works at like an amusement park, like down there in Florida, and he draws the characters, right? But then he drives like 2 hours home to like this farm that he just lives on, and there's like definite bodies there. And then he drives another 2 hours, and then he goes and draws pictures. But that's all that I've got.
But he only kills other serial killers.
I think we have a hit show in our hands.
No shit.
Oh shit, his name is Dexter, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, explain what's Aleister Black's character. I mean, you're asking somebody to explain a wrestling character. It's not so much explaining the wrestling character, it's like do they know the way they carry themselves? Do they...
Wait. Why is it my job to explain the wrestling character?
Why is it my job to explain Dexter Loomis to you?
Well, you said you had a hold on his character.
No, I said he did. I said he has a hold on his character. He knows who's his character. He know who his character is. You can't say that about every single wrestler. You can't say that about Seth Rollins as a babyface. He never got a hold of it. He was just a smiley-ass babyface.
No. I won't go with that.
Why is it your job? It ain't your job.
I won't go with that. We got all excited when Seth was building up to Brock Lesnar. I don't want to hear that shit. I'm not going with that. We were all excited about that shit.
Okay, that is. I know you say this all the time. That's actually another conversation for another time. Anything else that we want to say about this War Games?
No, I thought it was good. It was good to see it come back. I always want to see it come back at least once a year, maybe somewhere in November. But no, it's always good to see War Games as far as I'm concerned.
I can feel it coming. Jason and I are going to have a blowout this podcast.
What?
Let's get to that 2 count.
1, 2, 3.
2 beer. What's the 2 count?
We're going to take a little trip to North Carolina and talk about Kenny Omega, Impact Wrestling, Tuesday night. I watched on Twitch, and it was pretty wild. I got on at 6:58 or 6:59, just like a couple minutes before, because I was like, oh, here, it's time. I'll throw on Twitch. I'll cast it to my TV. And I'm looking at, the chat and stuff, and it's all, AEW, chat. And then, there's, a few thousand people in the Twitch. And I've watched Impact before on Twitch. Not all the time, but here and there. And there was a significant number of people more in this chat. And then 7 o'clock rolled around and it jumped up to 40,000 people. And I was like, holy shit. So there was a lot of interest about this angle that got set up on Wednesday night. And Kenny Omega showed up on both shows and, cut promos on both. And, the Impact show was definitely built around it. I think the most interesting thing was as soon as Impact started, it started with footage from AEW. It was like an AEW recap. And I was like, oh, this is more than just a little angle. They're showing actual TNT footage on Access and, so on and so forth. But yeah, the whole show was built around Kenny. Was the last segment on the show. He's going to be doing the belt collector gimmick, it looks like. He's back to his cleaning ways. Don Callis is a delight on promos and commentary. We've known this for a long time. But it was pretty cool, putting Kenny over super hard on Impact. But that was the weirdest thing was I still haven't quite gotten over it. And I think the the most entertaining aspect of that Impact show, I'm sorry about the wrestling that was on there, because like there was some good wrestling on there too, but the most entertaining aspect was the fact that they had a paid advertisement by Tony Khan with Tony Schiavone that was like probably a minute and a half long, and that thing was goddamn hilarious. I'm not really for Tony Khan being a on-screen character for like AEW Dynamite, because I mean, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna be Vince, in '98? Like, no, like that's been done, and he just doesn't need to be an on-screen character, or Bischoff, or like anything like that. So, but it was cool to see in this context. I feel like he had to kind of make a statement, very tongue-in-cheek, talked about maybe even buying Impact Wrestling. Like, it was pretty crazy. I would really want to hear what Jason has to say about it, because I know he watches Impact every week, and like how this show compared to last week or the week before or whatever.
Like you said, I watch every week. It was weird to see AEW lead off the show. It was weird to hear Josh Matthews lean into, the interview that was going to happen towards the end of the show. Well, at some point, obviously, it ended the show or whatever, which I have no problem with that. That's what you're supposed to do. If you got a new audience, you show them your shit first, and then you give them what they're coming for last. It was interesting to see Rich Swann kind of getting disrespected a little bit before the Kenny Omega interview, where as the champion of Impact, he's just trying to leave to go to the parking lot, and security's not letting him go out to the parking lot. So you had something right there already, planting seeds on that. Something else I was getting ready to say, the tag team division especially is, you got the Young Bucks, you got the Good Brothers. They have New Japan ties already there, so at some point that's going to happen. For me, it was more about Tommy Dreamer foreshadowing, I've seen this happen, this doesn't end, well, things like that. The two things I took away from it was, number one, this is, and to me, the most important thing is this angle is not going anywhere anytime soon. This is probably going to take all of 2021, and moving forward, fingers crossed, hopefully it gives WWE some serious competition. But the second takeaway from it is this could be that quote-unquote second show that I've been screaming and crying about. They at least put the toe in the water to see, and I said it last week about numbers. 750,000 across all their media number, or all their digital networks, whether it's Twitch, whether you watched it on Access, yada, yada, yada. That's almost 3 times as much as what they normally do. Okay, so success there. For me, it was really no different a show than what it normally is, but it really leaned in towards Kenny Omega, AEW, the Tony Khan, 2-minute promo or whatever, vignette, better choice of words. But it was really like what is getting ready to happen. And then, like I said, the one where Rich Swann was getting pushed away from security, that's where I was like, okay, now I can kind of see where we're going with this. I thought the interview with Don Callis and Kenny Omega was off the chain. The possibilities are there. Like I said, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. The show was good, but like I said, there was a heavy AEW influence to it.
So I'll start with the most obvious point, is that this is objectively good for the wrestling business. Somebody tweeted out, I was home, I was watching it, I was flipping back and forth between that and the football game that I had bet on, which is a tough night of TV watching for me, which is Impact and the Cowboys game. But now you're making the jerk off. I thought you only okay. So
you said the Cowboys.
So apparently the week before, the Twitch streaming viewership on Impact peaked at a little over 3,000, and the other night it got up to 40,000. I'll admit, I'm a dinosaur. I'm not really sure what Twitch is. I thought it was where people watch people play video games, but I also don't need it explained to me, just like my dad doesn't need Blu-ray explained to him. I'll just admit that it's something I don't understand, and I'll take everybody's word for it. But there's no doubt.
It was a media platform created by Sting for Darby Allin, his son.
You ain't shit. God, you ain't shit.
But it's objectively good because they have a pay-per-view coming up this weekend, correct?
Final Destination.
And there's no doubt that they got a few more buys for that pay-per-view because I'm sure there were people that watched that more intently than I did that said, you know what, I like this Rich Swann character, or holy shit, they have Kurt Hawkins, a.k.a. Brian Myers, and him and TJP had a really fun match. You know, that's good. And Impact certainly does have sneakily a very good roster, with tons of guys that can work. So that's the first part. The second part is they need to have some kind of fake noise or something. It just reminded me of right after the pandemic started, and we were all watching wrestling with no audience at all, and how shitty that was, and how we should never go back to that. They should have fake wrestlers on the side. They should have pumped-in crowd noise. They need to have something. Because it was okay back in the early days, March, April, May, when we didn't know what the hell was happening.
You said the early days.
Right, back in the Stone Age.
Right.
But
seems so long ago.
No shit.
It really does.
No, it's literally like two different times. It's before and after.
But just to have, like I watched two War Games today, and without a doubt, the one that's more fun to watch is the one with the crowd. I mean, that's just it feels stupid even that I have to say it. The third thing I'll say, all that being said, is the biggest heel move that Omega has is make me watch Impact for 2 hours, because goddamn, they need to have some sort of audience on there or something. It was a little disappointing. Now, as a wrestling fan, I should have known that he wasn't going to come out and say something big. But also as a wrestling fan, or what you might call a mark, I was excited to watch Impact because I thought that they were going to come out and announce some new paradigm shift. But obviously that's not the case because it's wrestling, and it's smart of them to not do that. But I did tune in expecting something more than what I got, and I watched AEW the next night too, so it didn't fucking matter. All in all, it's a success for wrestling overall. I'm not going to give up for it. I wasn't alive for the territorial days, or at least I wasn't watching during the territorial days. At least I wasn't watching. But
that's great.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was the idea, where Cody and Tony Khan and the Young Bucks and all the EVPs over there, they want to have a world where it's WWE versus all of us, and we're going to create this environment, and this might be a 5-year plan of theirs. We're going to create this environment where it's Impact and Ring of Honor maybe, and I know that New Japan has been talking with Rocky Romero about having some sort of working relationship between AEW and them, and fucking NWA, and you have all these guys, and anybody can show up at any time, and anybody can lose at any time. There is rumors that John Moxley is in Japan right now quarantining for Wrestle Kingdom, that Kenta is down in Florida and he's quarantining for AEW. There are rumors going around, and like I said, that might be a 5-year plan. If that's the plan, if they're thinking that far ahead, God bless them. Like, seriously, fucking God bless them.
It would be so amazing. I mean, that it's like a total wet dream, right? All of this talent, and it really is in every promotion's best interest to do that. Because even like
except for maybe AEW's, it feels kind of altruistic what they're doing.
It does, and it seems like they're doing it for the greater good. And their tagline when they started this was "Change the world," right? Like,
right.
Which was hyperbolic to the extreme, but at the same time, they have definitely changed that bubble of the world. Like those people who derive income and their livelihoods from professional wrestling in any ancillary capacity, like they have changed their world. Like they have a $45 million a year television deal. That's not insignificant as far as just TV deals in general. Like they're killing the business, but not in the way that Jim Cornette would say.
Right.
But it's cool, man. It's just like a total wet dream. Like, and just this, they already both, Impact and AEW already both worked with AAA. Kenny's the AAA belt holder. They put that Impact title, on Kenny, and then Kenny shows up at goddamn Dominion with 3 belts to punch, whoever's got the goddamn IWGP title, because it's in New Japan's best interest. If they want a bigger share of the American market, it's in their best interest to play nice too. And their president's gone. Harold May is out, and there is a much more kind of easygoing leadership there as far as collaboration goes. So it's in everybody's best interest to rally against the man here, and nothing would make me happier.
No, I agree with that, and I'll just break it down kind of in 2, maybe 3 parts. The first part is kind of like you said, I'll piggyback on you where you're saying rally against the man. Just as it stands right now, we have an AEW and an Impact quote-unquote partnership. I won't say it's a partnership just yet because I need to see more talent jump from show to show, somebody run in on a swerve for fill in the blank show on fill in the blank promotion. I need to see more, but we've at least started to lay the foundation of what could be. You know what I'm saying? I'll kind of push back on what Bill was saying about Impact and the Kenny Omega segment, because Don Callis did say something that I thought really, really stood out. And take it for what it's worth. I don't know if this was, planned or not. But the Jericho-Kenny Omega match really sets the stage for kind of what we're seeing right now. An inter-promotion kind of deal where you didn't see it coming. And now all of a sudden, I'm watching, Kenny Omega, getting ready to bid us all adieu, and all of a sudden Chris Jericho comes out. So in this world that we're kind of fingers crossed that we will ultimately get, that's going to be great for everybody. I will agree with Bill on this one, where maybe AEW kind of takes a step back a little bit. But, they did damn near 1 million views on Tuesday night. They're not taking a step back. They're moving forward. So maybe they can take Impact with them. You can hopefully get New Japan at some point to jump on board. Like you said, Two-Beer, new management might lead to new ideas. So, you can kind of see it happening. And ultimately, it would be us against WWE, like you said, to start this whole thing off. So at the end of the day, fingers crossed, that's where hopefully we are going to be, but you can kind of see it happening right now where AEW and Impact have laid the foundation for what could be.
Yeah, there's something exciting going on in wrestling right now, and then there's the WWE main roster.
See, stop.
No, it's true, but it just seems
true.
It's the main roster. It just seems to exist outside of the rest of the world in terms of professional wrestling.
Think about it though. That's actually how Vince exists. Can you imagine being Vince McMahon and how insulated he is from reality? Can you just imagine being that dude? He's a literal billionaire and he's in charge of everything he touches. I can't even, of course he probably thinks whatever he's doing is great because that's all probably anybody ever tells him. It's the dude has so much power.
It's like me, my wife was gone staying at her mom's for a couple nights this week, and it's like me when I wake up in the morning and both of my cats and my dog are all sleeping in the bed with me, and I get up and they're all looking at me looking for food. That's got to be how Vince feels all the time about everybody. I am the benevolent God with all the food. I will feed you when you get fed.
Right? Not a moment.
Daddy eats first.
Right? And not a moment
As you
sooner.
sit in his office and he eats a full course meal in front of you.
No
Right.
shit.
Exactly.
No, go ahead.
That's it. I mean, we'll get to. Well, you know what? Let's just jump into the 3 count right now. We'll just do the Wednesday Night Wars. It's time for that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so I mean, we'll just keep it going. We'll start off with the AEW Dynamite show, which kicked off my favorite way that AEW Dynamite kicks off, which is an exciting tag team match, which is what they did. It was the Young Bucks versus
The Hybrid 2.
Yeah, the Hybrid 2, which is a young up-and-coming tag team that the Young Bucks managed to make look like $1 million. And it was a fun tag team match. And then the Acclaimed, another new tag team, and SCU kind of showed up at the end. The Acclaimed wanted the piece of Young Bucks. SCU kind of came in and saved them. Totally fun. Thoughts about that, Zach?
Sorry, I was on mute again, politely.
No.
Yeah, this is absolutely the best way that AEW starts a show, and it's often the way that they do. Not always with the Young Bucks match, although that makes it like even more of a highlight. But yeah, I mean, Jack Evans and Helico are like super talented. This match ruled. It was kind of like, hey, you guys tune in to AEW, you don't normally watch, like this is what we do, right? It's just like there was like storytelling involved, like with the Matt selling his leg, which is like kind of a work shoot kind of thing where he's got like a legit like ACL kind of like stretch. And, that's been going on for a while now. And then, yeah, we had the outside, the Acclaim, right? Which is like the young and up and comers, like that they're signing. And that's one thing that AEW is doing now is like shooting, like every match has like a couple angles. There's a lot going on in these episodes. And they're introducing new characters all the time, which is wild because in a time where people are cutting back and laying off, and they're like signing people and putting them on television.
It's tremendous.
We saw a bunch of new people. It's
tough.
wild.
It's tough for anybody to get old.
Yeah.
No, I mean, seriously, it's tough for you to get sick of anybody. I mean, you watch fucking Monday Night Raw, and you're sick of everybody on that fucking show. Sorry, go ahead.
I like
No, yeah, that's right. But yeah, no, super fun opener. My curtain was jerked hard. Loved it.
I'm sorry, Zach. I wish you were here. I'm see, because Zach thinks we're making fun of him.
We're not. We're not. In this case, we are not.
We're having some infighting. Jason, what do you think about the Young Bucks opening match?
I'll just say this first. The Hybrid 2, I wouldn't call them a young up-and-coming team. They've been together for a while, but maybe for people that don't watch a ridiculous amount of ridiculous amount of wrestling, they are new to you, not new to me.
Jack Evans is like almost 40.
Right, that's what I was getting ready to say.
I know who Jack Evans is. I know who Jack. Maybe I shouldn't have said up and coming, but they're a new tag team for AEW.
Right, exactly. So I mean, if you watch AEW,
I know who Jack Evans is.
If you watch AEW and that's all you watched, this might be a new up-and-coming team. It's really not, but that's not the case. Ultimately, two things happen. Number one, you get the Hybrid 2 over, which is ultimately what you want to do. You at least want to make them look good, so that way you can always pull that card out moving forward at any given point. But I'll agree with everybody else. Number two, the Acclaimed, when they threw the power bomb into the Acclaimed, I said it on Twitter. I was like, that's not just happenstance. That was done. That was done for a reason. So you bring the Acclaimed out after the fact. SCU makes the save, so the Acclaimed is kind of quote-unquote graduating, called up, whatever you want to call it, from Dark to Dynamite. They're going to have a match next week against SCU. So, I mean, I can see where if Dark is developmental like Tony Khan says it is, then at some point we're going to have to start graduating guys from Dark to Dynamite and make that shit work. I thought the match was good. I thought the game plan behind it moving forward was good. it's kind of hard to fuck up a Young Bucks match ultimately, and especially with Jack Evans and Alan Henkel in the ring. You had a really good match. I thought that the Bucks were going to lose this match, especially when Angelico had Matt all tied up in one of the. I thought Zack Sabre Jr. tied a motherfucker up. Please, as I say, Angelico is a very close second.
All right, so up next we had a vignette with Darby Allin, where he was taking a Rorschach test, and he was seeing Brian Cage. He saw Sting. He saw a couple other people. Like I said on Twitter, I'm not the biggest Darby Allin fan. I'm not the biggest fan of his character. I like his in-ring work, except for the dead man drop or with the coffin drop or whatever. It's just mind-bogglingly stupid finisher. But the thing that bothered me the most about this segment was the guitar tone. As somebody who's played in multiple bands and knows how to play guitar, I mean, the guitar tone in this was just so early aughts or late 90s. I mean, just really offensive. So, with the character stuff and with the guitar tone, I felt offended as a wrestling fan and a musician. What do you think about it, Jason?
Wow. Okay, we going there. We bring the music into it. No, the only thing I like the segment, the only thing that I had a problem with it, and this is just nitpicking on it, is Brian Cage apparently is going to be one of the next guys in line. Apparently Sting has kind of thrown his hat, kind of not in the ring, but I'm kind of here hanging out kind of deal. The FTW title is something that I've been kind of saying that needs to be addressed. Either we need to do something with it or just kind of make it disappear. When Cage and Hobbs had their match for that title, I thought it was a really good match, even though Brian Cage, retained it, which he should have. But ultimately, it kind of got Hobbs over more at the end of the day. So now you had Hobbs the following week hit Cody with this title. I guess where I'm going with this is that let's just give Powerhouse Hobbs that title. You can have Brian Cage chase Darby Allin if you want to. That works for me because, you've already laid that groundwork out there. You can use the FTW title to build up Powerhouse Hobbs. Kind of works for me. Ricky Starks is the only one I kind of feel bad for. He kind of feels like on the outside looking in, but he had a good promo vignette, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him. I think he's...
I don't know, man. There's a lot of people that are just trying to suckle up to the teeth. There's only one pig, at least for right now. If we're going to call Impact the second pig, then so be it. But there's only one pig as far as I can see.
God, we should make a BFR JCB shirt that says a lot of pigs suckling up to the teat on the back of it. All right, Zach, tell me I'm wrong about the Darby vignette.
I didn't find it offensive at all. I don't have your musical acclivities, but I thought you would make a joke about it being, he said, late 90s, early aughts, much like the peak of Sting's career. But no, I don't really, I didn't have a problem with it. It was quick. It was to the point. Like I said last week, I think I said it last week. I was kind of fucked up, but apparently Darby makes these movies every week, and sometimes Tony Khan says oh, this is cool, we use it, and sometimes he's just no, I can't put this on TV, Darby.
Yeah, so I know you've said that before, so I guess we're to assume that's a Darby Allin creation.
I don't know. That one seemed more like an AEW kind of produced, but I have no idea. I know that he's into that whole thing. But, I didn't have any strong feelings about it. I thought it was pretty cool. It laid, some groundwork for where we're going to go next. And it kind of asked some questions and kept it fresh. Hey, what's up with... We've known since Sting came back, something's up with Sting and Darby Allin. It wasn't just wishful thinking on people's parts. It was he looked at him an extra long time. Now Sting came out and said, something which we'll get to. But there's a connection there. And that little smirk, just kind of it's just a little tease, gets us like interested in watching next week. So I was fine with it.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and tell us what you thought about the Sting, Double A, and Cody segment, where Sting also said a lot of things look real familiar around here and looked up into the rafters where Darby Allin was sitting with his belt. What do you think about that, Zach? I'll tell you why I liked it when you're done.
Little callback, because Sting spent a lot of time in the rafters. In fact, he spent a year up there. Probably the greatest build that I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, that build from like spring of like 1996
till summer of 2019.
No, until 1997. Like, that was one of the best builds in wrestling that I have ever seen. I'd probably put it at number one, where Sting was just in the rafters every single week. You got a little peek at him. Sometimes he came down out of the rafters and beat up people with a bat. That was awesome. But he never said a goddamn word. And then, of course, the payoff was like, I'm not going to go into Starrcade 97, but it was the worst payoff. But anyway, like, it's just like this amazing build.
Yeah, him not saying a word during that whole thing was the best part.
So, I will.
You ain't shit.
That kind of segues into a lot of people's I don't know about criticisms, but just like questions, because last week it was the intense stare down, and this week, we see Sting. He's just being like Uncle Sting, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's almost like the character is like Uncle Sting. Like, he's embracing his like kind of like
legend
position
status
as a legend,
yeah.
And definitely being like kind of almost like condescending to Cody, and there's some antagonism there. We wonder where it's going to go, and him pointing at Darby again. You wonder where it's going to go. He mentions TNT. There's a lot of parallels, which is super cool, because you got Tony Schiavone. You have the network that he was most famous on in his career. You have a Rhodes in the ring. You've got Arn Anderson, where he had some amazing feuds with. Like, there's so many cool parallels, and like, I'm like Jason will say, let's see how it plays out. I am incredibly interested, and it seems like he's here to stay.
Jason.
Arn Anderson, I really didn't trip off of like being a quote unquote rival of Sting, but it makes sense because it's the Ric Flair connection. Sting and Ric Flair have had great matches. We all know that. Two Beer kind of stole my thunder on this one. The ending was, kind of like, Cody called Sting Sir. Sting, retorted with kid, kind of put his arm around him. You might as well give him the noogie on top of it, basically, I know it's your company, but I'm still Sting kind of shit. Basically just, Darby Allin might as well just came from the rafters and just came down and had the match. Because, I mean, he basically called him out at that point. The great part about this thing, the Sting angle, it has options. Okay, you can take it anywhere you want to go. End game is probably Cody. The next big match coming up is Sting versus Darby Allin. At some point that's going to happen. Maybe it's not the next big match, but ultimately we will see these matches happen. The first match, I think, for Sting has to be something that can at least show that he's A, healthy, B, able to wrestle at a level that looks competent. And then from that point, you can kind of move forward to where you want to go. They've basically, once again, laid the foundation out. They laid out, the possible feuds moving down the line. Sting said he ain't going nowhere. It's there. We just gotta have to let the play the shit out, and let's see what happens. But I didn't think it was a bad promo. It really kind of, the one big takeaway from that promo is how he kind of made Cody look small, and you're that guy, and he just came out and made you look small.
My favorite thing about the whole segment was that Cody didn't even particularly look very happy to see him. And we're to believe that, Cody is presented as the on-screen character, the one who has the most power in the company. I mean, it's not the Young Bucks, it's Cody, because he was the most known to American audiences, and he's the most famous, and he's because of his lineage and everything. What I liked about it was that Cody didn't seem particularly happy to see him.
Nope.
And if we get a Cody Sting feud,
it's got to be for the title, and that's going to be a while.
No, it doesn't have to be for the title. Fuck no. The exact opposite. It doesn't have to be
Which
for the title.
Are you talking about TNT title?
Well, it can't. I mean, Cody can't fight for the heavyweight title.
Yeah, y'all keep throwing it out there. I'm telling you. Let's get to the main event, and then let's revisit that Cody can't do the fill in the blank.
I mean, that's fine
anymore.
if we see a feud. The feud does not have to be for a title. It's one of those feuds that shouldn't be for a title.
Okay, fair. Okay. I take that back. That's fair. That's fair.
Whew, that feels good. Hold on a second. Can we have a moment of silence for that? I mean, that really. I mean, my thoughts on Sting are well documented on the podcast, and I didn't hate the segment because I thought that Cody was real good in it. We had FTR versus the Varsity Blondes, which I don't think they even brought up. I mean, that's got to be a play on the Hollywood Blondes, right?
The guy that
I'm sure.
No, it's totally a play on the Hollywood Blondes. It's Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman have been tagging on Dark for several weeks, if not months. Slowly but surely, they kind of played into the Steve Austin, Brian Pillman, Daddy Brian Pillman's tag team lineage. And now we have the Varsity Blondes. I'm not sure if they both played football, but obviously they're both quote-unquote blondes. I don't know. I like their in-ring chemistry. I like the fact that they won on Dark, but then lost but looked good on Dynamite. If Brian Pillman stays in AEW, he kind of has a good start there. If he has to go back to MLW, he can dominate them. MLW at some point can be the champion.
Any thoughts on the Varsity Blondes or FTR, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, FTR made him look like $1 million too. Like, they really bumped hard for him. Griff Garrison's a good hot tag, and they really sold for his comeback. Yeah, they really put him over in a loss. Like, that's really how you do it. I mean, it's just textbook. How do you get guys over in a loss? Like, that's exactly it. But yeah, those guys both got like good futures. Brian Pillman, I've seen in person. We all did. Like, he was at Starcast, and like I didn't actually know who he was because he was wearing this total gimmick, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And I was like, "Oh, Brian Pillman Jr." But like when you walked by Brian Pillman Jr., like at that time, I know he was playing it up because of the crowd, but it was just like you knew that guy was somebody. Like, even though I didn't know who he was, I knew he was somebody. And I think a lot more people will know Brian Pillman Jr. I think he's got a bright future for sure. Yeah, Griff Garrison looked good too. Fun stuff.
Okay, I'm going to skip past the Dustin Rhodes Dark Order thing with the 7, just because I feel like I'm being too negative today, and I don't want to be all that negative. I mean, do you guys want to be positive about it? Do you guys like them bringing up 7? Do you guys still like the Dark Order? Are we still talking about the Dark Order? Is the Dark Order
John
still a
Silver
thing?
John Silver is a highlight of my week, I gotta say. Like, I like that they're not all in masks anymore. I like that they've kind of pivoted and like turned it into something different. I'm not saying like the Dark Order itself is like a huge success. I don't know where Brody Lee is. I have no idea. But John Silver is a winner in my book.
Yeah, I like John Silver too.
I'm gonna take a stab at it, and I don't know for fact, but I'm gonna guess that Brody Lee is, at least he's got to be hurt or surgery or some sort, because he's been off TV, he's been off Dark, and I don't watch BTE, so I'll take Two Beers' word on this.
You don't watch BET?
Ain't this a bitch?
Oh, BTE.
I thought it was for you. Oh.
Fuck both you motherfuckers, okay? Y'all both can eat a gaggle of dicks, okay? Fuck both you motherfuckers.
Couldn't help it.
Yeah,
I guess I need to return my FUBU jersey I bought you for Christmas.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Now I forgot the fuck I was getting ready to say.
I have no idea what we were talking about.
All right. Speaking of BET, coming up next, we had Shaq and Brandy Rhodes. Don't shake don't shake your head at me.
Oh my God.
Jason was so disappointed in me for that one.
No, please go ahead and finish.
I'm sorry.
You're not.
I am
You're
sorry.
really fucking not. But go ahead.
Shaq and Brandy Rhodes. I like that Shaq was there and not via satellite. I like that Brandy Rhodes threw a glass of water in his face. I kind of like the whole segment. I guess that's another heel turn for Brandy Rhodes. I don't know what the fuck Brandy Rhodes is anymore. She's like Big Show. She's like flipping heel and face every single fucking week. It's like, what is she? Is she
right.
Is she a babyface or is she a heel? But her chiding Tony Schiavone for not introducing her as much as she introduced Shaq, that seems heelish to me.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, Shaq has a list of accomplishments. I mean, we know who Shaq is. It's no different than when Tiger Woods was announced at a tournament and Phil Mickelson was like, okay, yeah, we get it. Look, Tiger Woods is Tiger Woods. You know who he is. You have to put him over. So Tony Schiavone did what he was supposed to do. Now, if he had to do the same thing for Brandy Rhodes, it's not going to take nearly as long. Okay? You're the executive vice president of AEW.
Did you like the segment, yes or no?
Yes. Ultimately, I like the segment. I guess I need to see Jade in ring first because it feels like I'm missing something. She looks the part, but I've seen Camille. I've seen Chyna. She's in that mode. I feel like I'm missing something because all I'm seeing is her jumping people in backstage, which is great. It gets her heat, but at some point you have to throw her in the ring, and that's going to be the litmus test.
You put her in the Chyna mode? Yes or no? Zach, did you like the segment?
Yes.
Inner Circle comes out next. I like the Inner Circle. I like the slow burn to the Inner Circle story where it looks like they were going to implode last night. They didn't implode last night. I kind of wished, skipping ahead to the main event real quick, I kind of wish that with the ring that MJF ended up winning off Orange Cassidy, I kind of wish, and this is fancy booking, that maybe Sammy Guevara would have won that, and that could have added a new wrinkle into the Sammy Guevara MJF road that it looks like we're definitely going down. Zach, what do you think about the Inner Circle segment?
Oh, I thought it was really funny. Even Ortiz had a really fun promo. He was really good on the mic, and there's just so many layers to that whole thing. Even finishing up with the very kind of almost homoerotic Wardlow and
Swagger or Hager.
Swagger, yeah, Hager. Where even we saw back in Vegas, one of the funniest parts of those Vegas vignettes was they'd just be in the background looking at each other the whole time, just staring at each other. So there's that feud that the people want to see. There's the Sammy MJF thing that the people want to see. We desperately want to see Sammy turn face and him to wrestle MJF as a heel. Just a lot of fun layers to this, and I thought it was good. They said they teased the decision to break up or not, and we knew they weren't going to break up this week, but we know it's coming. Even MJF said it. He's doing this heel thing where he does these insider terms, talking about the smart marks and saying everybody online saying that I'm going to break this company up. So, yeah, toe the line with that stuff, but the way that he's delivered it's been clever and it plays into the storyline. So it's good.
No, I agree with that totally. I was going to say ultimately, and I really thought that Sammy Guevara would be one of the last to turn babyface, but slowly but sure, they've once again planted the seeds, laid the foundation out to where now Sammy is over here, and they've been kind of making quote unquote Sammy look like a fool. But I mean, Sammy sees what he sees. I'll have blackjack. I turn my head. I look back. I don't have blackjack anymore. I see MJF with the towel. I turn my head. I come back and MJF is getting ready to throw in the towel, and I have to stop him. So I mean, all that is planned out, or at least planned and ready to roll. I guess my biggest problem with this is MJF re-winning the ring itself. I kind of lean with you on this with Sammy Guevara. I wouldn't have mind seeing that. I definitely was looking for Orange Cassidy to win it and just kind of play it off like it's no big deal for the next year. If it's kind of one of those things where if it's King of the Ring or, fill in the blank gimmick of choice, I guess in New Japan is the KOPW plastic trophy that your boy is running around with. But I was kind of looking for that kind of finish. I mean, ultimately it's okay. I guess MJF winning it again is what it is. Like I said, I don't want it to be a scenario where they break up because it's they decide to break up. MJF has to be the anvil for the reason for them to break up, and then if you want to go from that point, knock yourself out.
Okay, anything else that we want to talk about with Dynamite?
I feel like I'm missing something.
There's Abaddon, there's the Women's Chaos, there's Kingston and Butcher and the Blade versus Archer and the Lucha Brothers. There's Orange Cassidy and MJF.
What was you said? Lance Archer.
No, that's particularly interesting to me. I guess Lance Archer is kind of being positioned as a babyface now. Babyface-ish, yeah, sure.
Okay. Outside of that, yeah, I was going to say Dynamite was okay, but it was more so about, to me, Kenny once again at the end, reinforcing the Queener, reinforcing the fact that, like Two Beers said, I'm coming for this belt. I got that belt. You might see me in Japan at some point.
Okay, well, let's move on then to
This is banned from ringside.
NXT. NXT started off with your champ coming back. Finn Balor cuts a 3-second promo, which is about 1 second longer than they usually give him.
Stop.
Because he says, I'm the champ, and I am back. That's my Irish accent. Does that sound okay?
It's better than what I could do, so I have to give you credit for that.
Thanks. It was a total SmackDown. Opening segment. All that was missing was Teddy Long going out there saying, holla, holla, holla. And it was Finn Balor, Pete Dunne, Kyle O'Reilly, and then Scarlett, who is carrying Cross's valet.
Miss Damian Priest.
Huh? Oh, yeah, Damian Priest, too. I didn't write it down. And then Scarlett, who is the valet for carrying Cross. Jason, I saw something interesting from you on Twitter today. I'll let you go first. Your prediction is there's going to be a fatal 4-way between Dunne, O'Reilly, Karrion Kross, and Damian Priest to see who the number one contender is.
Fancy booking on my end, but I mean, if you kind of
not bad.
I mean, if you kind of look at it, it makes sense. Each guy kind of has a claim-ish to the title. Kyle O'Reilly obviously lost, but had a banger match to it. Damian Priest really has no business in the mid-card at this point any longer. You can go that route. Pete Dunne, same thing. I mean, he ran I shouldn't say ran, but was obviously one of the longest reigning champions in modern history. And then you have Karrion Kross coming back. It just kind of makes sense. I mean, I hate to be, we need to have a tournament. We need to have a tournament. But, I mean, in this case, have a one-night tournament and then just do it like that. The way it's kind of they're setting this up, they're doing counter-programming. So if you're going to counter-program, this is the way you do it.
I mean, don't worry about being the we need to have a tournament guy because we never get tournaments except for an NJPW.
Right, and look, you know me.
So let's get it.
I'm a tournament guy. I'm a faction guy.
We just saw one in AEW. We just had one for the number one contender.
Right.
And the number one contender won the championship.
I'm muting Zach. Where's the mute button? Don't be coming in here.
It's so much shit in front of him.
Don't be coming in here with logic and reason.
No, you need to be the voice of reason between the two of us.
All right. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally felt like it was a Raw or SmackDown angle. The only difference is if it was Raw or SmackDown, all four of those guys would have been in the main event which it just implies that they had no idea for a main event until they started the show. That's how the Raw and SmackDown book it. But yeah, the big takeaway was, Karrion Kross is back, and he laid down the title due to injury. Like, he came in like a bat out of hell, man.
I mean,
he was going to go right to the top, and he would be still at the top if not for that injury.
I agree. I mean, kayfabe style, he should have the number one contendership right off the bat because he never lost it.
Just like Finn Balor got it for the universe. Oh, wait.
Yes, exactly.
No, you didn't. You ain't shit.
Fucking WWE is bad at kayfabe. We had Swerve versus Atlas. Swerve
heel turn
heel turn.
Yes. As I say, you don't walk away. Look, what's the team that we didn't like in softball with Sal? Okay. Let's just cut to the chase. If we had to shake their hands, we wouldn't have had to shake their hands if we didn't have to. That was just like, hey, good game type shit.
Jason almost got me beat up at so many softball games.
I had to get specific.
Shit. No, I know the team. I can't remember what they were called.
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
Matter.
It wasn't the Vipers, and it wasn't Hair the Dog.
No. It was that other team.
Yeah, it was the other team. It wasn't Nick's Pub either.
It was that other team.
It was the other team. I can't remember. Fuck. Okay, go ahead.
But that's my point, though, okay? You don't – if Swerve is pissed, okay? He was basically in control of that match. And it's no knock against Jake Atlas, okay? Jake Atlas is good, but the way they told the story that is Jake Atlas kind of, quote-unquote, stole the win. So, I mean, if you're Swerve and you're looking back at it, you're going to be pissed off about it. And you're going to walk away. You don't want to shake hands, okay? It was like with Sal's team. When we finally beat their ass, if we didn't have to shake their hand, we wouldn't have shaked their hands. And that's where Swerve was.
I did have a buddy from college on that team that it did make it weird between us, our friendship, because...
I think I saw him at work like a few months back.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's Sal guy. Oh, that's no, not that guy, different guy. But okay. I knew that guy too. Oh, that Sal was a motherfucker.
Yeah.
God damn, I hated that motherfucker. So then we had the Grizzled Young Veterans, still the worst tag team name I've ever heard, versus Imperium versus Everrise in a match that I can't even remember who won. Do we need to talk about this? You're saying Jesus Christ because I should remember who won this match?
Yeah, you're the host, motherfucker.
But it doesn't matter.
It matters because, A, to answer the question, Grizzled Young Veterans won the match, and B, it's called a build. We're building them up to hopefully get a tag team championship match somewhere down the line.
Zach, I'll ask you this. Does it matter? Oh, wait, that's the wrong question. What'd you say?
Aren't all three of those teams heel teams?
Yes, they had three heel teams face off. Imperium's the only one that I really like, to be honest.
I admitted this to Bill in person this weekend. I have no idea who Everrise is. I couldn't pick him out of the lineup.
Oh, neither do I.
And also, this match was not on my Hulu edition of NXT, so I still don't know.
Well, let's skip past it then. We had Toni Storm. She had a brawl with Io Shirai. I like the fact that we're having Io Shirai versus Toni Storm. Io Shirai.
Hang on now. Hang on. Shit.
What?
I was about to say, somebody might have that number one card in her hand first before Toni Storm. I think we're going to get there, but I think somebody should be positioned before Toni Storm.
Raquel Gonzalez?
Definitely.
I mean, you're the host. Go ahead. Take it away.
Shit. I was about to say, we only had that one time. Well, a couple other times. Doesn't matter. No, I mean, if we're going to play the New Japan card in this scenario, Raquel Gonzalez pinned Io in WarGames. So it would kind of logically believe on, and then reinforcing that in the main event where she pins Ember Moon, we're leading to that route. I'm not saying that Io and Toni isn't going to happen, but I think there needs to be that buffer match between hand. And then go with this, Raquel Gonzalez versus Io. We build Io up more. You can build Toni up against Ember Moon. and then have them face off at a later point.
I'll say this: Toni Storm, money. Ember Moon, money. Raquel Gonzalez, I'm not sure. I don't hate her. I'm just not sure that she's got that it factor that Ember Moon and Toni Storm do. In my humble opinion. Zach, what do you think?
I mean, the longer-term feud is definitely Io and Storm because they've already had a bunch of awesome matches. Like, we know they work amazing together. So, Raquel should get, the shot at whatever. Like, January 6th, they've got this NXT what's it called?
Whatever.
Perfect.
Perfect time.
Some kind of big show.
Yeah, perfect time for Raquel Gonzalez to go down. Perfect time.
Yeah, and then you transition on to Tony and probably take the belt off Io. As great as Io is, change it up and Tony's phenomenal. Like, Tony should be on the main roster, making main roster money, sitting at catering.
Come on now,
because that's probably what they'd have her doing.
As I say, don't do that.
All right, like we said Cameron Grimes and Tommaso Ciampa. Looks like the Timothy Thatcher, Tommaso Ciampa thing's going to keep going. Tyler Rust came out to help Timothy Thatcher. He got approached by, I'm going to fuck this guy's name up, Bivens. Malcolm Bivens?
Yes.
Malcolm Bivens was, I guess, Malcolm Bell and Malcolm DeVoe were...
God, I want to punch you right now. I really fucking... Man, you so lucky I'm right-handed because I just want to yak you in your mouth right now. God damn. You ain't shit.
I didn't even think about that joke till just then.
Now. I know. I can tell you because you couldn't get it out.
We talked about Cross coming back. Pete Dunne and Killian Dane, they had a competitive match. I like Killian Dane a lot. He seems to be a gateway babyface for the heels to go through, though, at least for right now. I just wrote down here Pai Mei after the Asian or the Chinese guru in Kill Bill that tortures Uma Thurman because we don't know this.
That's who he is.
No, it's not him, but that's who he reminds me of because he was just torturing the fuck out of those people.
Okay, never mind.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I hope it has a good payoff. And then the main event was I forgot to write it down. It was a women's match.
It was
I'm the host.
No, it was Raquel Gonzalez and Ember Moon was the main event.
Oh, that's right. Real quick before we get to anything that you want to talk about there, Zach?
Nothing in particular. I already forgot. Sorry.
All right, Jason.
The Xia Li bio kind of vignettes have been going on. I'm kind of with you on that. Fingers crossed there's at least a decent payoff from that. From there, Grimes, I'm just hoping that Grimes can stay away from Thatcher and Ciampa, let them do their thing for a little bit. Talked about that. Yeah, I think, as I say, I'm good on my end.
Okay, there's one more thing about NXT that I'd like to talk about because I don't think we've even said his name since he's come back. Have we talked about Wade Barrett once? Because he's been on commentary on NXT for a few months now, and Wade Barrett was a wrestler that I very much so enjoyed. He was very cool. He was a great heel, really, and he's good on commentary, too.
Can you imagine that show without him? I mean, we haven't talked about him, but, dude, I like Vic Joseph well enough, but he's like Michael Cole Jr.,
Well, I mean, you can only like WWE until Vince dies is just going to be a bunch of Michael Cole Juniors, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not his fault or anything. I'm sure he would be much better if he wasn't in that mode. But Wade Barrett, even though he still has to be in that pattern, he's still, part of it's like the accent. But he's just good as a color guy. It works, kind of like Nigel McGuinness was good. I don't know why we don't have him doing that because he's always been good.
I think Wade Barrett's
good too.
Yeah, he's tremendous, and I would like to see him back as a wrestler. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know what his situation is. It seems hard to believe that he is, if he's not injured, that he's better served as an NXT announcer than as on-screen talent or as, competitive talent.
No, that was good. Well, obviously he had to go away because of injury or whatever. Came back with MWA, commentated there, and now he's back, quote unquote home with WWE. I did see, and take it for what it's worth, that he basically said his in-ring days aren't done. So
Are not done.
Are not done. So.
Oh wow! I felt like with the tone of his commentary, it was always that he was done because he would say stuff like, "Ah, it's the kind of thing that ended my career." Maybe not those exact terms,
exactly.
But he would just be like, that really sucks. Whenever they take a big bump or something.
I'll say this: one of the greatest swerves I've ever seen in wrestling history, I'll go that far, is Mark Henry basically coming out in that salmon suit.
Well, yeah.
Okay, and then what ended up happening? I got plenty left in the tank.
Didn't we talk about this last week on the podcast? Or did I just have a dream about it? I got plenty more in the tank.
I don't think we talked about it last.
You think it was going to be that easy?
Right. Okay. That's one of the greatest swerves I've seen.
One of the greatest swerves of all time.
Ever.
Have we really not talked about this recently? I just watched it.
I think we might have talked about it recently.
Oh, my God. Yes. If you've never seen it, and people were all over Twitter being like, oh, he should win an Oscar for this. I was like, no, he shouldn't win an Oscar for this. It's TV. He should win an Emmy.
Yeah, right.
Let's get on to our NXT TakeOver DoOver. You boys ready?
Let's do it.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Okay, so the NXT TakeOver DoOver this week is NXT TakeOver WarGames from 2017. Originally NXT TakeOver Houston. It took place on November 18th, 2017 in Houston, Texas. This feels like a really long time ago, considering the storylines, but it's really only 3 years ago. The main event definitely fucked me up. I did not remember this being the main event at all, but we will start at the top of the show. The curtain jerker, as it were, is Lars Sullivan. Defeated Cassius Ohno in 5 minutes and 11 seconds. Jason, give me a star rating and general thoughts about this.
I gave it 2.25. Was it 2.25? Yeah, 2.25 stars. To me, it's. I could shit on it if I wanted to. For me, it's like baseline. To me, 2.5 is where we always start with every match, and then we can move it back and forth wherever it needs to go. It wasn't a bad match. It's just it wasn't good. Clearly, Lance Sullivan, Lars Sullivan, it was going to go over. It wasn't a bad match. Cassius Ohno was there to be the tackling dummy, so to speak. I can throw big guys around as much as I can throw around smaller guys. It's a squash for Lars Sullivan. Not much more that can be said about it for me. 2.25.
All right, I'll give it 1.25. What do you give it, Zach?
I give it 2 stars. The fact that Cassius Ohno was in it is the only reason it got those 2 stars. Otherwise, it would have been a dud. But Cassius Ohno was like Jason said, big guy, bumped for him. He's awesome, and he put in just enough offense to kind of show that he's not a pushover. At the same time, is really just trying to make Lars Sullivan look good. So yeah, 2 stars.
All right, coming up next, we have Aleister Black defeats Velveteen Dream. And I think the further we go into these takeovers, the more it seems to me that Velveteen Dream just doesn't win very much. Aleister Black, I gave this match 3 stars. I had a lot of fun with this match. This is Velveteen Dream. This might be my favorite Velveteen Dream match, to be honest. Zach, what do you got it at?
That makes sense because especially if you take in the after the finish, where the whole build-up, I can remember from the hourly television, the whole build-up was, Aleister Black doesn't say much, and Velveteen Dream is doing the whole say my name thing, and Aleister Black puts a beating on him, but then at the end says, live in infamy, Velveteen Dream. That cranks it up like a whole star rating for me, because I remember popping whenever that happened. So this is a full-out, just 4-star match for me. Dream, young, athletic, still green Aleister Black, total badass. But whenever Dream was in the ring with people who could work, he always like lived up to the performance. I say I'm talking in the past tense because I don't see him anymore.
Right. I know.
But, like, but yeah, 4 stars.
I gave it 4.25 stars. For me, everything, and we just saw it before we got to this point where Dream's tights were like Rick Rude.
I forgot about the tights. You know what? I'll give it another quarter star.
He had the chaps
I'll give it 3.25.
He had the chaps like HBK. So, I mean, it was literally like watching two heels in Velveteen Dream just on the lower half alone. The match itself, I thought was really, really good. I thought, obviously, the ending where finally, and we talked about this this was a Shock City studio episode. We talked about this in Shock City where a lot of this was...
God, you mean we're to the point in takeovers where, like, I could go back and hear what I had to say about
exactly.
it 3 years
okay,
ago.
Exactly. Okay. This was a Shock City studio episode where you kind of talked about this then and now, where they kind of changed gimmicks.
Holy shit, is that true?
It's true story. It's a true story, okay?
Fuck.
Yeah. And that's why I laughed about it.
I was so young back then.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
whatever. So we kind of laughed about. Well, I laughed about it then, but the switch between gimmicks, where it was always Velveteen Dream, gimmick or mimicking Aleister Black's gimmick, but then at one point you had Aleister Black start to mimicking Velveteen Dream. So that, dynamic switching back and forth, I thought was really, really good. A lot of this was the psychology of things, and then the match on top of it was good. Like I said, I'll stick to it. 4.25 stars.
Okay. Next up we have Ember Moon defeats Kairi Sane, Nikki Cross, and Peyton Royce in a fatal 4-way for the vacant NXT Women's Championship. Zach, I'll let you go first.
Probably the best Peyton Royce match I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I would give this a solid 3 stars. I mean, I had forgotten entirely that Ember Moon was NXT Women's Champion whenever she went over. So, like, the whole thing was like a total surprise to me. I thought Kairi Sane was going over for sure. Like, in my head, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is when Kairi becomes NXT Women's Champion. Like, I just conflated all that. And so, yeah, it was kind of like what I imagine when I eventually go senile. Everything will be new to me, even though I just did the same thing the day before. But yeah.
That sounds wonderful.
3 stars.
Jason.
It's like Groundhog's Day.
Jason, you're senile. What you think about this match?
Motherfucker. God, I hate you right now. I gave it 3 stars as well. It wasn't even... It was weird to see Peyton Royce not come down with Billie Kay. That was, to me, like one of the biggest things. I totally forgot about that. Outside of that, it was one of those where I wish they just would have did a little tournament. These were their 4 best women at the time. I was looking for Nikki Cross more than anything else. I guess Kairi Sane makes sense coming off of the Mae Young Classic, winning that. But to me, Nikki Cross kind of made more sense. I mean, between her and Ember Moon, those were the 2 people that I thought we were going to be there at the end, battling out for the title itself. The match was okay. It's a fatal 4-way. It's hard to do a fatal 4-way and trying to make that look good. I gave it 3 stars.
We're all 100% in agreement. I also gave it 3 stars. I think it probably would have had a higher ceiling if it was just Ember Moon and Kairi Sane, or Nikki Cross,
or whatever.
Maybe not Peyton Royce, but of the other 3,
I'm cool with that.
Especially Ember Moon and Kairi Sane. I mean, Nikki Cross is a great character. I don't know if she can work as well as the other 2 gals.
I will say this is a precursor to what we're seeing now. They kind of broke up the Iconics now. And Peyton Royce was the one they're kind of, highlighting a little bit more. Billie Kay is kind of like the ha-ha kind of funny girl, but Peyton Royce is in the ring. We saw it then. We should have known it now.
3 stars from me, too. All right, coming up next, we had Andrade Cien Almas with Zelina Vega. I said Vega. I wish
You wish it was Selena.
I know.
Shh, keep that down. She's upstairs.
I can't believe I've never done that before.
Yeah, right? No shit.
Selena Vega defeats Drew P. Uentire,
right.
which is for the NXT Championship. Andrade goes over. Guys, this match was a complete banger. It was about 3 or 5 minutes away from being seriously an all-time great NXT TakeOver match. I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved it so much. Those guys worked together so well. It's a shame that we never got to see Andrade Cien Almas work as a babyface, because I think he would have had a great babyface. And I say it's a shame that we never saw it because we haven't seen him in a while. I don't think we're ever going to see him again. If we do, I hope we do. He's a very talented motherfucker who I like to watch. I think this might have been his peak. I give it 4.5 stars. Jason.
I will push back on that slightly. I gave it 4.25 stars. This is not his peak in takeovers. Morrow kind of dropped a nugget or two where
that's right. He had
the Johnny Gargano matches.
That's right.
One on Takeover, one on NXT, where they had those banger matches, and then obviously they're going to have a title match coming up. The moonsault off the top rope backwards to me was absolutely amazing. And also we have to remember that Drew McIntyre basically wrestled this match on one arm. He tore his bicep in this match, and that's why we never had a rematch for Drew McIntyre, and he disappears for about a year or so, give or take, and then he comes on to the main roster, and the rest is history. So it's cool to see Drew McIntyre get his flowers, so to speak, in the long run. But to me, watching him wrestle this match with one arm and have this good of a match, to me, speaks more volumes than anything else. 4.25.
Zach.
Oh man, this was awesome. I echoed Bill's sentiments. 4.5 stars. Like Andrade Cien Almas, Andrade La Sombra, whatever you want to call him, the dude is awesome. Like you said, if we would have had a babyface run, he would have been like the Naito of like NXT, for sure. Like,
hey man, don't be playing with me like that.
I know, right? That would have been so cool. But yeah, this match like totally kicked ass. Awesome main event, or awesome title match, I should say, not the main event. Almost like forgot that we were watching like War Games, even though that was the cool thing, was the symmetry of like the time periods. We're watching like the first War Games in NXT. We just had a War Games pay-per-view this weekend, and Drew McIntyre is on top of WWE. Is like kind of neat. But yeah, good match. 4.5 stars.
And last but not least, we have a triple threat War Games match. He's heating up. Triple threat War Games match, which was the Undisputed Era without Roderick Strong, pre-Roderick Strong. So Undisputed Era with Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly defeated the Authors of Pain, RIP, with Roderick Strong, and then Sanity, which was Alexander Wolf, Eric Young, and Dillian Kane. Just fucking around. Undisputed Era goes over. You know, it's hard to give a star rating to a War Games match. I mean, everybody worked hard, but what are you know, it's even a triple threat match kind of stretches the limits of credulity in terms of credulity. I'm sorry. How do you say that word, Zach?
Credulity. I have a hard time saying it too.
But it kind of
that Midwestern accent.
Yeah, I know. It kind of stretches it because the drama really comes between two people trying to beat each other up, right? In the War Games match, you got 8 people. In this case, 9 people. It's hard to give a star rating to it. As far as War Game matches go, I don't know. Fuck it. I give it 4 stars.
That's almost exactly how I got to my analysis too, because I was like, how do you like put a star rating on a WarGames match? They're all like brutal. I mean, there's some that were just like pure excellence. Like the first couple were like outrageously good. But yeah, like how do you do it? Like it was entertaining like the entire time.
Well, go ahead and give it a star rating.
4 stars, yeah. I said the same thing.
I gave it 4.5 stars. For me, it was one of those scenarios where, like you said, how do you rate it? To me, it's spots. You know, how ridiculous is this shit getting ready to get? There was a couple of ridiculous spots to where now it was the cherry on top of the cake of this takeover where I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I kind of remember this when it happened then, and then it resonated now that I'm thinking about it, the official or whoever the ring announcer was said that the winners were Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era. And that to me kind of sets off this ringing of the bell that Adam Cole is here, and this is a name that you kind of need to remember. And, you know, Fish and O'Reilly too, for that matter, obviously, because, you know, they all win the gold. You got I totally forgot about Roderick Strong being with AOP. That looked weird every time.
Didn't remember it at all when they came out. And
it was like Kurt Angle being with the Shield.
Right, exactly. Where every time Roddy came in and attacked, you know, Undisputed Era, I'm like, wait. Oh, yeah, that's right. They're on the different teams.
So I kind of appreciate it, though, just for the symmetry of the match, you know, have them all dressed in a uniform, kind of.
For sure. It still didn't register on the second time around.
Well, I was kind of watching it today while I was working, and then I see Adam Cole and Roderick Strong are hold on to the chain link fence, and they're kicking each other, and I hadn't watched the intros, and I was like, wait a minute, what? I was like, oh, yeah, this is pre-Roderick Strong.
Right.
When they turn from a faction to a stable, so to speak. You know.
He doesn't even turn for another year after that, because doesn't he turn at the next WarGames?
Well, they tried to get him to turn before this. The build-up to this was them trying to get Roderick Strong to join Undisputed Era. I guess that to me is, you know, a part of this, because, you know, you kind of teased it. Roddy turned it down, and now I'm getting ready to come in this big spot. First time in 20 years. We do the suplex off the top. So let me ask you this: did you like this WarGames match better than Sunday's WarGames match? We had 4 of the same players, the 4 Undisputed Era members that were in this Sunday's were all in this match, even though Roderick Strong was on a different team. Which match did you like better? I'll let either one of you go first.
Go ahead, Two Beer.
I like this week's better. I don't think it's just recency bias. It was, I wouldn't say just like more fantastical. I really do think like just Pat McAfee being in there, like, what's he gonna do? Like, I know he did it once, but like, I'm still like unbelievable that this actually happened. Like, how's he gonna do in WarGames? And then he just murders it. I think that definitely like added some flair. Love Pete Dunne, and the fact that Undisputed Era is just like always in it, right? This is like what they do. This is their match. Like, what happens whenever they move on? You know, we'll talk about like them having 4 WarGames matches with Undisputed Era. It's like a total tradition at this point. So I liked it. I like this week better.
I'm totally torn.
No, and I am torn too. That's why I wanted him to go first. But I'm not saying this to be contrarian. I'm saying this just because I had to kind of think about it for 30 seconds. I like the original better, just for the fact that it has to start somewhere after 20 years, give or take. I like the story leading into this a little more. It was a little disconjointed.
Can you take it out of that context, though, a little bit? Like, I mean, I understand totally what you're saying.
If you're talking
as a
match versus match, when you got,
I'll say what I think. How about this? I'll say what I think. I think that this year's was a little bit less chaotic, and I prefer a little bit less chaos in my matches. It's kind of like the difference between the Royal Rumble and a Battle Royal. Like, a Battle Royal is a bunch of kicks and punches, and, you know, you never really get to pay attention.
Yeah, you can't just see.
But in a Royal Rumble, you can tell
every 2 minutes, somebody's coming out.
You can tell 12 stories within one Royal Rumble.
Right.
For my money, I like this year's War Games better because, like Zach said, this is the fourth one. Like you said, like Zach and you both said, both of you are right because this was the first one, the one that I'm pointing at that's on my TV right now from 2017. This is the one that brought War Games back from 1989 or something?
It's probably closer to that, but go ahead.
But obviously they've gotten better at them because this one they gave a lot of stories room to breathe. It was I like the stories that were told. That's why I watch pro wrestling. I like this one better.
I'll say that, and now I'm looking at it, Killian Dane is one of the standout guys, and this is probably another reason why I rated it so, where I came away then and now like, okay, Killian Dane is going to be, one of those next guys on the main roster that can maybe break the quote-unquote NXT curse. He's big like Vince wants. He's a hairy motherfucker, but I mean, whatever.
He was also this year, in that year, in 2017, he was the third to last guy in the WrestleMania Andre the Giant, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Yeah.
Okay, so, there was, I at least had hope for Killian Dane. AOP's in this match. They looked as strong as ever. Sandy was, champs, but, not necessarily a contributing factor. I won't say contributing factor, but, they were just Sandy. Really, it was about Undisputed Era and the Authors of Pain. And like I said, Killian Dane, to me, was the standout guy in this match. It was good to see it come back, and ultimately the spots are what we look for in War Games. And when you had the crowd basically chanting, we want tables, and Killian Dane kind of looked over and did the Pete Dunne shrug and was like, fuck it, let's go get the tables. There's something to be said about it. I loved it.
Very fun. So that'll do it for our TakeOver DoOver.
For the record, I'm taking this as my new number one GOAT of takeovers above all others that we've seen so far.
Wow. Really?
Numbers-wise, I'm looking at it. I got it at least 1, 2, out of 5 matches, I got 4 or 3 4-star matches.
And so the other ones that we were talking about were Dallas and Chicago 2?
I was going to say, I thought last week
it was the one with the DIY turn. For some reason, I can't remember which one that was. Chicago 2, right? This is a great pod.
Chicago 2.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Chicago 2 and Dallas were so those are our top 3 so far, I guess, when it comes down to it.
I'll take it. I'll go that far. I'll go War Games is my number 1, Chicago's 2, Dallas is 3.
Wow. Zach, anything to say to that?
Dang. That's bold.
I did not think I didn't even put this one. I didn't even consider it being my favorite one because the curtain jerker was just basically a throwaway match.
Throw it away. Then more so to my point, 4 matches, 3 out of 4 4-star matches.
Oh, he's bringing the heat. That's going to do it for our TakeOver DoOver.
This is banned from ringside.
All right, let's take 5 minutes to talk about the Battle of Super Juniors and the World Tag Title New Japan tournaments that are going on right now. Jason, I'll let you go.
Two Beard, you might want to close your ears for 30 seconds. If you haven't been keeping it up, and
he knows. We talked about it beforehand.
Well, okay, I still hate spoilers, but go ahead. Desperado.
Hold on, we can cut this out if Zach doesn't want to do it.
No, it's fine. I know what I know results. I just haven't.
He doesn't give it
just
to
a couple days. Couple days behind him watching matches.
World Tag League, he doesn't care about anyway. So actually, let's start with that.
I don't
That's
either.
True.
Okay, so then let's just start with that and get that out the way because I like World Tag League and I like tag team wrestling. So let's get that out the way.
This year's been better than the last couple.
Oh, so you actually watched?
I've been watching. I'm just a few days behind.
Okay, so even
better.
better.
Tama Tonga's new haircut. We can talk about that for at least 5 minutes.
Haircut, shit, shave the whole shebang. I was about to say once
I know,
again,
right?
black don't crack, or at least somewhere in that Samoan bloodline. There is some darkness to it. We can start with there first and just get that out the way. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but FinJuice is going to be on one side. You have GOD on the other. So you have the defending champs from last year versus the team that arguably is the team that is the team of New Japan, minus the Good Brothers or some incarnation thereof. The team that's never won World Tag League. So you have, like I said, that storyline on one side. On the Super Junior side, you have Desperado, arguably has had one of the best runs in the tournament. Him and Ishimori, I thought, had two of the best runs all tournament long. Desperado's going to have Takahashi on the other side, where obviously you have this natural Suzuki-gun LIJ rivalry going on. They got beef even if it wasn't even a faction beef, they got beef over the title. So, for me, both sides, at the end of the day, the finals look good. If I'm going to have to, and I know you're going to ask me, my prediction on it, I'll take GOD on one side. I really don't want to do it, but I don't think FinJuice is going to go back-to-back. It feels like it's time for GOD to finally win World Tag League, go to Wrestle Kingdom, and finally, I shouldn't say finally, they need to defend the titles at Wrestle Kingdom, but that's another story. Super Juniors has been so good. Desperado's been so good. If it's Ishimori and Hiromu, I would still take Ishimori. Hiromu's been good, but Desperado's been just that dude all tournament long. So give me GOD on one side. I'll take Desperado on the other.
And what about the Battle of Super Juniors? What do you think, Zach?
I'm going to disagree with the World Tag League real quick, just because I got to go with FinJuice, because with that USA title, and I feel like that's like Juice's thing. It's tied up right now, so if Moxley's not coming back to defend it, let him at least have some championship status with those belts, because he is over with the fans for sure. But that's my pick for the finals. And then BOSJ has been super fun. Like the matches that I've watched, Robbie Eagles, Yu Uemura, just killing it.
So
definitely watching all their matches.
Those are the two guys that aren't in the finals that I was going to ask you about, because Robbie Eagles is very new to New Japan, correct?
No, he was there last year, but new enough. But go ahead.
Yeah, newer. But yeah, he was, working with Will Ospreay last year before the pandemic. They had that Birds of Prey tag team that was really fun. But yeah, his matches, he's a great worker. Definitely, not a finalist, obviously.
Right.
Uemura was not going to come anywhere close. He's still a young lion, but that dude's going to be a star. He's his body's he's, really getting his physique going. And, they're not really allowed to have too much personality, but he's got a drop kick that rivals Okada's. It's just bonkers cool. So
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Out of the finals, who do you think's gonna take it?
I feel like it's got to be Hiromu, man. That's Hiromu's division. Unless they're gonna put Hiromu up in the heavyweights, which they just don't do. It's not necessarily as much about star power as it is about kind of weight class for them. Still, they do it every now and then, but you see Will Ospreay having bulk up for it, just to make that jump. And they'll do it with the tag titles, like they do with the Bucks and stuff. But those guys aren't super tiny either. But that's why Kushida left for greener pastures. Kushida's never going to be IWGP champion. But Hiromu's the star of that division, and I feel like this is it's his to have. Ishimori's been great, but I feel like it's the year of Hiromu.
Hiromu has had a great tournament. Hiromu had a fun G1. We enjoyed him a lot. We talked about him a lot for a guy that only won one match. I've been enjoying the shit out of the Battle of Super Juniors, and I'm looking forward to the finals, which is this weekend, correct? Jason's gone. It's just me and you, Zach.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting for Jason.
No, I kicked him out.
Hiromu. Oh, okay. I say Hiromu wasn't in the G1 though. That's the usual Takahashi.
Wait,
That's
what?
A different Takahashi.
Oh, wait. I knew that. Hold on a second.
You're stoned. That's
damn
definitely a different Takahashi.
Just leave it in there. Just leave it in there.
What's the question?
Nobody's listening anymore. I thought Hiromu Takahashi was Takahashi
Yujiro.
from Yujiro.
No. Matt and Nick Jackson. Just to answer I think I heard the question, but I think the role of I think the final is for Best of Super Juniors and World Tag League first. Final Destination is next, and then Super J Cup is live actually on New Japan World. I think that's Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken, or Sunday. It's one or the other. But yeah, they're basically 1, 2, 3 all in a row.
This is banned from ringside.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get owned on Twitter for fucking that up.
I didn't mean to put you on blast.
No, that's all right. Like right when I said it, I was like, I think I got that wrong. Like, what the two Takahashis? I just want to say,
13 Bears and too many Takahashis.
I just want
Those Jackson boys, they look really familiar.
I can't tell them apart. Just
one has a beard, the other doesn't.
Real quick, like their names are Matt and Nick. They're white boy names have 4 letters. Matt and Nick.
Can you not tell the white guys
Zach,
that don't
Bill,
have
Mark?
Okay,
Rich.
So y'all both have beards.
Jake.
So that means one of you jokers needs to
Todd.
shave their beards so you can tell you two jokers apart. That's what happens.
Real quick, I just want to say that it's almost insulting how bad Raw has been. That they need to fill 3 hours, but Keith Lee only gets a backstage thing for 1 minute with Sheamus. I like the build to Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. I like that they're slow rolling it, but fucking 3 hours, guys.
I like Cedric. No, I like Cedric. Cedric's
I like
feeling
Cedric
himself.
too, but
Cedric's feeling himself.
I like Cedric too. I like the Hurt Business. They're overexposed. They're overexposed. I would ask Zach to chime in on this, but we know he didn't watch it.
This is
That's true.
banned from ringside.
All right. We got some birthdays this week. We have JTG. This is the 4th year in a row. I'm going to ask you, what does JTG stand for?
Fuck.
Zach, do you know?
I should know this.
JTG?
Yeah. Do you know who JTG is?
Well, I know
Oh,
who
it's
he
a
is,
who.
but I was going to raise.
I don't think he knows who he
no.
is. His
No.
partner just passed away, R.I.P. Shad Gaspard. JTG stands for Just Too Good.
And I probably am 0 for 4
I think
every time.
I bet we could go back. Because if
Every
we started
time.
in 17, that's 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, it's the 4th time
I'm
we
probably
wished
0
happy
for 4.
birthday to JTG.
I
It's
honestly
just
don't.
too good.
I honestly don't know that. And
He has the same birthday in the same year, they're 1 day apart, as James Ellsworth. Let me ask you this. Who's had a better wrestling career, JTG or James Ellsworth?
Sorry, JTG. This is
Well,
no
only one
disrespect.
of them won the first women's Money in the Bank.
Thank you, and I was there.
And only one of them beat AJ Styles.
Thank you.
So,
I wasn't
okay.
there for that.
Sonny Kiss is 27. Sabu is 56. Flip Gordon is 29. JYD, the Junkyard Dog, would have been 68.
R.I.P.
Michael Elgin is 34. Keep on playing, playa.
ain't
Eric
shit.
Young is 41. Eric Young is 41. And so is Brody Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper. Hey, everybody.
We made it.
We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to ours. For Lucha Chris.
Check.
I had a dream last night that me and Lucha Chris went on a long road trip together from California all the way to Texas to watch a wrestling show because we were tweeting back and forth last night. We had a great time in the dream. For F&B Eatery.
Check.
For Vice.
Check. You said it. You said it. Don't
For
look at
Jimmy
me.
or Zach Bowman.
Check.
For Jason Cornelius Bell.
Konnichiwa,
I
bitches.
am Bill Vagan.
Check.
Everybody boo the heel.